So, we usually get a few major updates each year to No Man's Sky, and this year has been no different with Fractals, Interceptor, Singularity, and Echoes. Now, these updates, whilst being popular within the fanbase, haven't addressed some updates I see a lot of players wanting added to the game, within reason of course. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck into what some of those actually are, and could we see them or not in future updates. A quick disclaimer, as always, I'm not suggesting any of these updates will actually get added into the game. This is more of just a speculation on what players want to see and what could be technically possible given No Man's Sky is already one damn big game. In the past 18 or so months, we've seen updates that include the likes of new alien races, new ship types, combat updates, both in space and on the ground with Sentinels, so it may be reasonable to assume that the next major update would include something totally different to these. So, let's talk about a few possibilities. So I'll get this one out of the way first, as it's often talked about, and I've recently done a video on it asking you guys if you want it or not. And that is of course ship customization. Now the poll I recently did currently has around about 500 votes, and a whopping 89% of people who voted want ship customization added to the game in some form or another. So that covers total customization like the ones you see in Starfield, or just partial customization, so let's say paint jobs. Ship customization has been a topic of conversation for years with No Man's Sky players, and it certainly seems most want it included in some form or another. But whether or not Hello Games decide to add it as a feature is another question entirely. I mean, it's certainly possible, especially when we can do basic customizations of most other things we can own, like our freighters, our character in general, and of course our exocraft. The fact we don't even have the ability to change the colour of our ship still winds me up. I mean, for goodness sake, Sean and Co, add that in at least. Nothing worse than finding the perfect ship and not being in the colour you want. We've even got the staff where we collect parts, put them together and then recolour it, so why can't we have something similar for our ships? Now we've gotten past that, let's move on to an underwater update. And I don't know how long you've been playing No Man's Sky, but way back in 2018 was the last time we got an underwater update of some description, and that was called The Abyss. So I think it's safe to say it won't be out of the question if we were to get an underwater update of some description in the very near future. It could include a whole host of things like deeper oceans with sea monsters, new discoveries to find down there, and new abandoned ruins to explore. Another thing I would like as part of an underwater update would be a new water-based exocraft, because frankly, the Nautilon's a little bit shit innit. It looks a bit bland, it travels at the same speed as a snail, so I'd like something faster and of course customizable. Actually, if you think about it, the Nautilon is a bit pointless because you'll never find an ocean deep enough to warrant using it. If you just upgrade your exosuit, you'll be good to go, so deeper oceans is a must I think to actually make a submarine worth it. And I also think there's a severe lack of underwater variety. Like, most of the plant life and rocks and all that stuff is basically the same, or at least similar to that on every single other planet with water. Now I also think the water itself could look a tad more realistic, but I think the only issue here would be actually being able to implement such an update. It would be quite taxing for the devs, and not to mention our gaming systems. And moving swiftly on, this one covers one of my main gripes or issues with No Man's Sky as it is, and that is its lack of variety. Like, we have what, 18 quintillion planets or however many it is, and once you've seen a handful of them, you've basically seen them all. So I would love another update similar to the Origins update, which was a huge step forward back when it was released over 3 years ago. Origins was actually the update that brought me back to the game after a year or two hiatus, and I definitely think an update similar to this would bring loads of players back and bring in new players as well. An update like this could include a vast array of new flora, fauna, landscapes, and most importantly, planet variety. Like, do you not think that once you've stepped out of your ship on a planet's surface, within about, I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds of a little bit of exploring, you've basically seen all that planet has to offer? The points of interest are the same as other planets, you could fly to the other side of that planet and it would look exactly the same as it does on the other side. I think the variety on planets themselves needs to be more in depth than it currently is to give me a reason to actually head out and explore them. Perhaps multi-biomes planets, or include things like forests, swamps, waterfalls, rivers, and all of that good stuff, as well as adding new on-planet points of interest. So, things like larger facilities and buildings to find and explore. Like, a huge part of No Man's Sky is about the exploration, but I can't help but think it could be vastly improved beyond what it is today, especially if there was a lot more activity going down on the planet's surface. Right, let's talk about settlements and the fact that I would love to see these extended to be able to create much larger settlements with more going on. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the settlements as they are at the moment, but I can't help but feel more could be done with them. I'd like there to be more buildings with a wider variety of functions, more settlers with more tasks of varying difficulty, and of course, better rewards. You get the idea, right? Bigger settlements with more to do. And I suppose in a similar vein to this, I would love hub cities we can visit throughout the galaxy. Now, these could only be on a small amount of planets, but having played Starfield quite a lot recently, yes I know another Starfield reference, I feel this is missing from No Man's Sky. Now, of course, I have wanted these in No Man's Sky pre-Starfield, but it can't be too difficult to add these into the game on a set number of planets, so we don't need to worry about them being procedurally generated too much. And in these hub cities, we could undertake a great range of quests with valuable rewards, upgrade various components, and customize our ships, hopefully. Would you like larger cities or an extension to settlements added in a new update? Why don't you leave a comment below? Right, let's talk about space stations and the space station override. Honestly, I feel like I've been ranting about this for months now. What is the point of having the station override in the game if we can't do feck all with it? Do you know when the station override was added into the game? The Prisoners update. And do you know when that was released? June of 2021. Almost 2.5 years ago. To have the station override in the game for that long and it do sweet feck all is beyond a joke at this point. Do you think Hello Games have just not figured out what it was going to do and hope none of us noticed? Or do you think they've generally just forgotten about it? Because I can't think of another reason as to why they've done absolutely nothing with it since adding it into the game. Anyway, enough of me moaning. Here's what I'd actually want it to do if Hello Games actually pulled their fingers out with this. I would like them to give us the ability to own that space station and then customize it to our heart's content. So, a bit similar to how we can customize the interior of our freighters. We can create new rooms to give the station more functions, alter the system's economy to make us loads of money, and all of that good stuff. So currently, with the exception of Outlaw and abandoned space stations, the interior all look exactly the same. And not to mention space stations are huge, but so little room is actually used inside of them. It's definitely about time we got a space station based update. And as well as those updates, there are a couple of smaller updates I'd like added in. And first off, let's talk about our bases. Now, base building is a really cool aspect of No Man's Sky, but I do think we need more base building parts to make them even more unique. This won't even be that difficult to implement, so Sean and Co, more base building parts please, and also stop the damned terrain and plants respawning into our bases as well. Another thing that annoys me is my exosuit's voice. I just want an update to mute the damn thing. I've been playing the game long enough to know when I need to refuel my life support, my hazard protection, I know if a storm's incoming, and I know when my inventory is full. Just please shut up. Now, I'm a fan of the expeditions in No Man's Sky, but what I'm not a fan of is the fact they're only available for a limited amount of time. Like, why can't we just start them whenever we want? Like, life sometimes gets in the way, and I missed the expedition to get the Normandy as a frigate, and I want that damn thing. I don't see the need to keep them behind a timescale and inaccessible outside of that. So, can we have them at all times, please? So, why can we upgrade the class of our ships and our multi-tools, but not our freighters? Have you ever actually tried to get an S-class freighter? It is a total and utter ball ache, and it can take fucking ages, so I see it as pointless. Like, I've currently got an A-class Venator purely because it's not worth the effort to find an S-class one. So, for goodness sake, please let us upgrade the class of our freighters. Even if it costs us 100,000 nanites, I'd be happy with that. So now that I've complained about a few things and gone over all of those possible updates, is there anything that I've not covered in this video that you'd like to see added into the game? After all this, watch us get no more updates until 2024 and I'll look a right tit. And we'll just get a replay of the expeditions instead. Which isn't a bad thing I guess, but I'd love the final of 2023 to have one more big update. What do you guys think? Now, whether or not some of these updates have gone over, get introduced, is a total mystery, but I'd love to see at least some of them being added, specifically ship customization. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can also now become a channel member as well, where I'm going to be posting coordinates to a whole bunch of super rare and unique items, and of course some places to visit. You'll also get some unique emojis and badges when leaving comments. What's not to love, right? And as always, thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.